I now invite His Excellency Amar Ben Jama, Permanent Representative of Algeria. You have the floor, Excellency.
Allow me, President, to congratulate you on assuming the presidency of this review conference. You have the full support of my delegation, and I am honored to serve as your Vice President. President, we meet at a moment of grave uncertainty, uncertain time for this treaty, for the disarmament regime, and for our collective security. The first resolution ever of the General Assembly was dedicated to the elimination of atomic weapons. 80 years later, the specter of a nuclear disaster is not behind us. To the contrary, arsenals are amplified and modernized. They are not dismantled. The nuclear testing moratorium is openly questioned. Furthermore, the legacy of past experiments is far from being forgotten, but more painfully, they are not even recognized nor addressed. In this regard, let me remind my country's, Algeria's painful experience. In the 60s, our soil was the theater of 17 nuclear tests conducted by France. The first detonation fallout reached over 3,000 kilometers away. And generation later, the consequences of these tests remain an open wound. A decade later, the IAEA still recorded elevated radioactivity in these areas. The affected communities suffer these consequences daily: illness, congenital disorder, and barren land. Generations have gone. Together with those still enduring these consequences, are denied the answers to some simple question. First, why France has not provided us, up to now, the maps of the exact locations of this nuclear test or of the buried waste? Second, what prevented the disclosure of historical archive, radiological data, and medical records essential for environmental remediation and public health? Are those barriers transcending basic principle and fundamental rights? Third, sir, while Algeria has offered concrete and constructive proposals for the rehabilitation of contaminated sites, France continues to ignore these proposals and to deny its responsibilities. How can these double standards be justified when the same country has already dismantled its technical facilities, nuclear facilities, and conducted properly decontamination in French Polynesia? Mr. President, my country, Algeria, have chosen the path of multilateralism. We acceded to this treaty, and we have met all our obligations. Algeria's priorities, including the Middle East nuclear weapon-free zone, are clearly outlined in our working papers. And my country was honored to chair twice this conference. And we know by experience that this conference can achieve when there is political will. And we know how swiftly its credibility erodes when the political will is lacking. This treaty rests on a balanced, reciprocal commitment. Non-nuclear weapon states renounced the nuclear option, while nuclear weapon states committed to eliminate their arsenals. Today, we must be frank. One side has met its part. The other, on the elimination of these weapons, not yet. Moreover, the failure of 2 consecutive review conferences has placed the relevance of this regime at a crossroads. We must therefore federate our efforts under your leadership to restore the integrity of our treaty and to free the world from nuclear weapons. I thank you.